Welcome back, and for today's bread we're going to do a Tuscan flatbread saltless bread. So this is a bread that is originated in Tuscany when they had really high taxes on salt. I can't remember the exact reason, it's probably to do with a war or whatever. So they actually started making bread without it. And I think it's actually a really good lesson to learn the effect of using salt in bread making. And actually, if you chuck it with some nice like cream cheese and a bit of maybe salty ham like prosciutto or parma ham or something like that, a bit of rocket, absolutely amazing, and it really does complement itself well. So yeah, I think we're just going to crack on with this, and even if you don't make this one, I think you'll really learn by looking at the dough, looking at its structure, looking how it proves, and looking how it comes out afterwards, when we're going to do very, very similar techniques to what we normally do with salted bread or traditional bread, and see the difference not having the salt makes. Okay, so we've got 400 grams here of Italian 00 flour. It's got to be Italian, we're making an Italian bread, so it's got to be an Italian flour. So 400 grams in there. Now obviously we don't need any salt, so that's one less ingredient to use. We are then going to chuck in some yeast. For this it's 8 grams. Okay, so in there that goes. Next, the water. 288 grams. What I found before with this recipe is that we had to raise the water because of the absence of salt for whatever reason. It kind of absorbs more water without salt. 20 grams of extra virgin olive oil. We want some good quality stuff here because it's really going to add a lot of flavour to the bread. So it's time to mix our dough now. We're going to do it for about 4 or 5 minutes slow, that's without the oil. And then we're going to then mix it fast for about 3 minutes before adding the oil right at the end to allow that gluten to develop without the oil. I think if we put it in at the start, it'd be interesting to find out, and feel free to have a go and put it in the comments. But if we did put it in at the start, it'd be really, really hard to develop that gluten in the flour without the salt and with oil in there. I think we could be mixing it for quite a while to actually kind of get it going and create the nice structure. So we're going to definitely delay the oil to the last period of the fast mix, but it is a relatively short mix. We're not trying to make stupid, crazy gluten strength or anything like that. Okay, so first we go in with our flour and the yeast, of course, and then we're going in straight in with the water. Pop our oil on the side so we don't forget. Set a timer for 5 minutes on slow. Let's go. Just gonna check we've got a good consistency here. Yep, we do. So now I'm happy with that. That's just going to now knead in the bowl. And you can see at this stage that the dough, it just doesn't want to bind into a ball. It's lost that elasticity. Which is making it quite hard to mix when we've got quite a small mix going through it. So I might actually mix this for a little bit longer than planned because this bowl is probably a bit too big for this mix. So we're going to actually increase this to a 7-minute slow mix now. But if you had a smaller size bowl or a bigger size mix for the bowl, then yeah, you'd be absolutely fine, I think, with the 5 minutes that we originally said. Okay, so that's had about 7 minutes now, and I'm happy with that. You can see that there's just kind of a lack of strength, but even though there is that long gluten that's developing, it's just not holding its shape, and it feels, when you put your fingers through it, it feels like there's something missing, that sort of bounce, that extra elasticity. So we're going to crack on with the fast moving mix. This is what we're expecting to find, so do not worry. This is just showing the effects of not adding salt. So on to fast speed and on to 5 minutes fast. And look how the dough is reacting to the mixer going through it, the hook is kind of just leaving indents where it's just been. There's no fight for the dough, it just kind of just sits there until it gets hit again. It doesn't try and form back into a ball or a shape. It really just like gets hit and just the crater is left there. So we've mixed for 3 minutes and we've got 2 minutes left of what we're going to expect to mix this for. So I'm now going to add the olive oil in gradually. Try and do it on the edge of the bowl so it just drips in. There's no strength. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's literally one plate at the bottom. It's covering the bottom of the dough. And a few little pieces on the top. But it's kind of formed itself. The oil acted as a barrier between it. So we need to get this incorporated in. So I'm just going to use my hand to kind of get things going a bit more. Clean that off. And that should be fine now. See now it says adding that oil, the dough has got this more whiter colour, it looks more vibrant. And that's our 5 minutes fast mixing up. This goes into the bowl. Okay, so the dough's now been mixed. We have got kind of this almost a gooey kind of structure, but it is full of strength at the same time. So it's not really holding its shape yet. There is definite gluten that has formed there. So one thing also, I did just try it, and without the salt, you've got all this flavour, but nothing gelling the flavours together. So yes, it doesn't taste great at the minute. The future's not looking bright, but once we give it a rest, stretch and fold, another rest, and then we start moulding and shaping the flatbreads, it's going to turn to a kind of different tact, and they will end up being really, really nice. Okay, so 45 minutes later, we're now ready to give these flatbreads stretch and fold. The dough is a little bit sticky, so I might do it in the bowl. So here we go. Up we go, one to the middle, like that, like that, and like that. Wow, you can see that structure forming. Give it a little turn, combined it all together into a lump. What I will do now, this has been left out ambient, I will just take a temperature. Yeah, it's getting a little warm. We're hitting 25 degrees almost. So this is going to go back in the fridge for another 45 minutes to cool ferment or cold ferment, and then we'll be able to take it out and start shaping our dough. So it's now rested again in the fridge for 45 minutes. We're going to take it out onto our dusted surface, just like that. Okay. Now what we're going to do is divide these into 100-gram pieces. So we don't need this timer anymore, unless we're trying to push ourselves. I'm just going to sprinkle some flour over this side. And we're going to divide these into 100-gram pieces. Now, we're not going to make this like a really perfect dough. It's going to be irregular. We kind of want that. So I'm not going to do any pre-shaping as such. We divide into roughly 100-gram piece, try and stretch it out as much as we can, and then pop it on the side. So if you don't follow me, you will in a second. So take a piece of dough that you hope is around 100 grams. Okay, if there's a little bit under and you need to take a little bit off, pop it on top like I did then you flip it over like that, and then we're just going to kind of stretch it into a kind of rectangle sort of shape and just leave it there. And we're going to just keep going through with this until we've got all our 100-gram pieces. I'm just going to kind of stretch it a little bit. Now bear in mind we haven't got the salt in, remember, yes? So the dough has not got as much elasticity, it doesn't want to pull itself together. It also means it's not as kind of stretchy in the same way, because it's not as strong. So this kind of gradual sort of stretchy sort of movement is kind of the best way that I've worked out to treat this dough. If you look at it, it feels like a normal dough, but it's very sticky, weird. So with these little pieces, we're just going to pop them on the side and then squeeze them onto the bottom like I've done here. So we've got 9 pieces made from that piece of dough. So we don't need this anymore. We don't need the scales anymore. So let's get rid of the stuff that we don't need. And then we've just got the stuff that we do. Now, ideally, I would have some wooden boards, but I don't. So I've generally make use at home of just using my peels. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've got my 2 oven peels here. If you don't have a peel, don't worry. You can use a just a either a chopping board perhaps. We're just going to prepare these. I'm going to start off with some semolina. Now, if you don't know what semolina is, I went to a mill last week in the Isle of Wight, the island's last water mill. Very cool, but I did also find out that semolina is actually a byproduct of flour. It's just the stuff that they kind of almost like throw away. It's just like a waste product made from the flour. So what we're going to do is we're just going to sprinkle this on. What's great about semolina is that it's a little bit more grittier, and you can get coarse stuff or you can get fine stuff. Generally I prefer the coarse stuff, but you can also use fine. Really, you can use both really. An alternative to this is rice flour. This is really popular. So we're just going to put the semolina on first, and then we add on some just flour, just white flour, some kind on the bottom. Doesn't really matter what type. So just leave these to rest for 5 minutes, and that'll hopefully let them relax a little bit more, and then we'll be able to then shape these into wider kind of squarer rectangle pieces that we can then bake, that we can then prove and then bake in the oven. Okay, so we've waited now for 10 minutes or so. First of all, we're going to take our first bit that we divided, and as I said, we're just going to try and stretch it out. Nothing too artisan-y. Try not to have any holes. If you do have a hole, just push it over like I just did then. And place it on the board like that. Okay. Same again. Stretch out wide, stretch out long. You can use your fingers to stretch out. If you've got big hot, you can see where it's getting thin in the middle like that. You've got the window pane effect. You might need to just use your finger, stretch it underneath like that. If you do get a tear in it like that, not a problem. Just kind of fold it over, give it a pinch. Our flatbreads are flat. There is a kind of crust almost like a pizza on the outside. That's cool. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, it's how you want them. You can flatten them with a rolling pin if you wanted to, and have them a bit more even. Or we can just have it sort of roughly like this. It is a bit of fun. It's like what I would always serve this with a food. I wouldn't just eat it on its own or make a sandwich so much out of it. I'd have maybe a salty food with it. A bit similar to a pita bread, you know, or a bit, even a pasta, and have one of these on the side, or a bit of chicken, maybe cooked Italian with olive oil and that sort of thing with it on the side. What we're going to do is get some nice ham and some cheese and some rocket, maybe a bit of tomato, olives, that sort of thing, and make something really cool out of it, which is going to be kind of like a really nice posh starter, which I might actually do when I've got some friends coming around. I've got quite a few of these, so I might need to go and get some friends around tonight. One there. One there. One there. So that's 4 in there like that. I'm going to chuck a bit of steam in the bottom. Shut that door quickly. Crack on some top heat. We're going to leave these on the maximum. We want these to bake really, really quickly, so go nice and black on the tops and hopefully soft still on the inside. So hopefully we're going to be looking at about 5-10 minute bake in this oven. So these guys have literally been in there 5 minutes. You can see that they've got a nice little dotted colour on the top. They're soft in the inside. They're absolutely banging. A little bit of steam. And here we go. These guys again took a couple of minutes longer. Oh yeah, look at that. They're absolutely amazing. And here we are, these beautiful, beautiful breads. They just look amazing, don't they? And they're ready to be topped with something, you know? Let's just take one of these out. I mean, you shouldn't really eat bread warm, but I think in this case we're going to, because we just want to see what it looks like on the inside. So that if you're not following along, you can have a look. So yeah, we've got like a sheer batter style open texture. From when I tried that dough at the start, and I said, oh, it doesn't taste too good, to now, it's completely different. This is absolutely beautiful. They're a little bit kind of squidgy, a little bit moist, but maybe that's a little bit to do with it being warm still. I mean, they do cool down, but they're only 100 grams, they're quite puffy and airy and things like that, so they are pretty cool quickly. But they're just